Hello and welcome to a new episode of Pat's Chat. Today I'm with a strategic marketing specialist. It's Joy Abdullah. Thank you very much, Joy, for joining me today. Your time, of course.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick. It's a pleasure.
Thanks. And of course, you're very popular. People know you basically mainly for two things. You have a vlog, which is called the 3 Minutes Marketing. And of course, also a very popular podcast or videocast, Create the Edge with Youssef, which you just launched in the second season. Really happy to see that again. I was following that. That's basically how I started connecting with you or met with you on LinkedIn. So awesome to see season 2 coming or ongoing already. For that, but we come back to that a little bit later. First of all, as always, I would like to know a little bit more about you. And the first thing that came into my mind when I did some research is like that you're British national. I didn't know that.
That's right. I don't wear the tag on my head, but I'm a Brit. I was born and brought up in UK for the first 13 years of my life. And then I've spent 23 years across India and the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. My father, who used to work in tea, so the family moved in 1974 to India. And I've lived there till year 2000. Done my higher education out of India. I'm originally Indian, a mix between Northern Indian and Eastern Indian, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a third generation Brit, but ethnically a hardcore Indian. And in year 2000, I moved to Malaysia. My wife is Malaysian, so we are settled here now.
Okay, I see. So what after all this traveling you did, you came to Malaysia? What was the reason? What was the connection?
Well, there were two connections. One very personal, and I'll share that, and one was official. As the good Lord does it, things happen for a reason. I'm not a born Muslim. My name, as you can see, is my personal brand, Joy Abdullah. It's to signify my faith, which is one of my core beliefs, and it's also to signify my birth name. Joy is part of my birth name, and that's my personal brand. I went through a personal situation, experience way back in 1996 and 97, and that journey in my life brought me to Islam. I converted, or to use the politically correct term, reverted. And the next thing that happened is I wanted to be in a place where I could be a practicing Muslim, and professionally I had the opportunity to move into a strategic planning role in the year end of 2000, and that's what brought me to Malaysia. I found my other half and soulmate, so to speak, in Malaysia quite a few years down the line, and well, here I am. I mean, I've settled down. House is here, home is here, heart is here. I have lived and worked across 17 cities and out of 18 homes. And for those who are watching, there's a little profile story called My Story in my LinkedIn profile, under my profile summary. That'll give you the background.
Oh, awesome. So almost 20 years now in Malaysia.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And the question I always get asked, like, oh, why Malaysia? And then the second one is like, what do you like most about Malaysia?
Well, you see, every place has its own beauty. And I think, to me, this might be a bit altruistic, but Malaysia is God's blessed country in many ways. Probably this current crisis that the globe is facing, this pandemic, is one of Malaysia's first ever big hit crisis, so to speak, as a country. So this land is blessed in many ways. It's beautiful in its nature. It's beautiful in its food. Of course, my wife is Malaysian, so I have to say it's beautiful in its people. But yeah, it's a very, very, having lived in many places, it's grown. It's home. I mean, it has a certain vibe in its environment. People are very hospitable, gracious, and that's what makes, where your heart is where your home is.
That sounds good. Yeah. Maybe I will make it 20 years here, then I can answer the very same.
I'm sure.
But at least I can agree with you. It's like just a beautiful, very peaceful country. Even we
It
have to
is.
stay inside for the moment, but I'm looking forward to the day we can go outside again. So
It will happen.
yeah, awesome. So let's come directly to the point, like of your expertise, because I think you have a lot to share in this area. Marketing, that's your baby since ever, and well, I think we can recognize you really as a marketing guru. How did you get into marketing? What was your motivation to start in marketing?
You wouldn't believe this, Patrick, but I was in B school. I was finishing my B school, and this was towards the March, April of 1986, that far back. So you can now gauge my age. I spent 3 decades in career. Well, I was all ready for a pinstripe suit and going and working in Forex in a bank. I was specializing in finance, and I had a career path that I had discussed with my father, who was my idol and mentor, to go into Forex, M&A, get into banking, and well, basically everything was mapped. And I had a dearly beloved head of marketing faculty member in the B school who's no longer with us, I think, at the moment. But he called me in and he just told me, go for this interview because this company, this ad agency has come to campus for the first time. And my minor was marketing. And in that minor, I had one paper of advertising way back in 1986. I was finishing. And so I said, all right. I mean, you know, I went for the interview. It was good. You know, I wanted to get interview experience. I was just coming out of B school. Getting a job was like, really important. I went for the interview, and long story short, the next thing I knew, I had an appointment letter. I had a call. I went over to the office after the interview. I got an appointment letter, and I looked at that letter, and it was 800 pounds back then. I was like, you must be kidding me. That was a lot of money. Trust me. For a young guy, I was just turning 25, 800 pounds. And it so happened that I started, I took up the role. I went into the advertising, and it's like duck takes to water. The next time I sort of lifted my head and I opened my eyes was 18 years later. I had, gone through the entire rung, the rut and everything. And that's literally how I went into marketing. I went into the advertising. I learned the ropes from ground up. I came out of advertising for just about 3 years to do some sales, actual electrical appliances sales, to understand the sales cycle. Went back into advertising. So that's where my love affair with marketing, as I call it, started and has continued, and I hope it will till I end my days.
Yeah, okay, of course. I see you're very successful in that. So why change that? And since 86, you said, so that's 30 years. I can imagine that in 30 years, a lot have changed in marketing. How this is being done, above all, maybe the digitalization, right? So going to digital marketing, but what other things have changed? What could you see that have fundamentally changed in marketing over this long period?
I'm glad you asked that question, Patrick. Great question, because in my 3 decades, this is the beauty. I've lived through history. I've gone from manual and electronic typewriters, right, all the way to using Slack and WhatsApp on group communication, including cloud, service reports, meeting reports, documentation being hosted not on that big, huge, cumbersome box called the central processing unit of a computer, but somewhere where you don't know where. So that's the first part of the history. I've lived through all of this, and I've adapted. I've taught myself. You're a tech person, you'll understand this. I haven't gone for certification. I haven't done Scrum. But what I've done is I've actually had hands-on learning experience, adapted, learned, and taken it to work. So what's changed in marketing? 30 years ago, marketing used to be a little simple. You had the classical 4 Ps of you have a product, you have a place of distribution, you have your promotion or advertising, and you have your price. Great, those fundamentals are fantastic. But about 15 years ago, or I would say towards early 2000, 2002 is when the first touches of social media started crawling out from, you know, the World Wide Web. That particular bit of technology has changed marketing dramatically and drastically. What has happened is it's gone from a product perspective view, which means manufacturing, product, brand message, to a group of people, that's consumers. It's flipped it to being the people talking about the product and the brand and saying good, bad, ugly, and calling the brand in, engaging with the brand. Now the change is 180 degrees. Looking at it from north to south, you suddenly, because of social media, you're now having to do south to north. You're having to fit people into your brand. So that's the first biggest change. And that's where I think the marketing gap, practitioners gap started happening, which is people, a lot of marketeers and organizations weren't able to adapt to that social change, that behavioral change from the customer's perspective. They got left behind. And my best example for this is, if you take a look at, you know, the Forbes top 20 brands or top 100 brands in the last 20 years, all right, and go back another 10 years, you won't find top 10 brands of the 90s showing and featuring in the top 20 brands today, right? In fact, a lot of the top brands weren't there. And a lot of the top brands like Nokia and Kodak then are gone. They're no longer in existence. So that's transition, that's the change. And I love this because what has happened is social media has allowed for customization. Yes, it's created a lot of tech, and they say the marketing job has become difficult. Absolutely. If you look at it as it's difficult, it's difficult. But if you look at it as you can now profile your customer even better. And that's where honestly my forte and my strength is. My strength as a marketer lies in understanding the behavior and the who of the customer or the community. And then taking that and seeing what's in my brand from a value perspective that can engage and be relevant to this community and start creating engagement. That's the stage 2. The stage 3 is that earlier, 20 years ago, I would say, we used to sell literally SELL, product, brand, price, buy me because I have a better XYZ product feature, all right? Today, it's actually necessary to do a conversation, a social conversation, to say, Patrick, do you think you require X? And X is a need that associates with your value, with your behavior. And you say, yeah, Joy, I might be thinking about that. Great, you know what? I tried B. B sort of gave me A and Z. So you see what's happening here. There's a social conversation in a community using social media, communication tools. We're talking about a brand and a referral is happening. That is where the change has happened. I would say a paradigm shift has happened, which is you cannot give a one-way buy me because XYZ features. Technology has made every single product, B2C, B2B, parity, absolute parity. The edge, the difference is now how well can a brand engage the community. And that's where, again, the second part of my expertise comes in, which is that engagement is actually an experience. See, you and I are talking, we're having a chat. It's Pat's chat. Both of us are right now unknowingly having an experience. I'm having an experience of talking with you and to you, and you're having a similar experience. And when we go away, it's going to leave what we feel about our respective personal brands as a perception in our memory. And that perception is influenced by our interaction right now. So what we are actually doing is a conversation which is helping each other create a perception about our own personal brands.
Well, basically, I'm currently just learning a lot, you know. So for me, it's of course you're right. It's a great experience. And now we just mentioned like one important term, that is the branding or the brand experience. And maybe we can stick a few minutes to these terms, because branding and marketing is sometimes used like interchangeably and or in the same sentence. However, it is not the same thing, right? And a lot of people try to give a definition. What is branding? What's marketing? What is your take on that, or what is your definitions? How you differentiate branding and marketing?
Thank you for asking that, Patrick. Really thank you. I think I'm going to break it into 3 bits over here: brand, marketing, and experience. And let me explain it. And this is my experience base is across Asia Pac. I come with an experience base from the east of the Suez Canal, the Middle East, from Dubai, Bahrain, going all the way up to Hong Kong. I haven't done work in Korea. I haven't done work in China. Neither have I done work in Japan. So I'm leaving those markets out. This is based on brands across 9 industry verticals that I've managed, grown, helped. There's a myth, and a lot of businesses, corporates, SMEs, national organizations, government-linked organizations, businesses of any size and shape. The first myth is a brand is not your logo, and the brand is not the logo design and not its color, right? A brand is actually a summation of a lot of things, right? So it has leadership, culture, employee engagement, employee advocacy, employee experience, user experience, customer experience. All of it comes down to the experience. And I'll cover that when we come to experience. So a brand has to be treated and is actually a virtual living entity, right? Let's take any brand that you want to name. Today, why is there a specialized line in marketing called personal branding? What are you doing? You're taking your name or a nickname and you're creating an identity where you stand for something. And that's what branding is all about. Branding is about communicating a value that you really believe in. And that value from a business perspective comes from, why are you in business? So there's a change in business thinking that we have to take on board. For 50 to 80 years, the world has run business from a manufacturing perspective or an industrial age perspective. So if you look at all our businesses and our operations and everything, we are linear. We are set up in silos and functions, right? In that, marketing has grown from the 50s with the 4 Ps, the product, place, price, promotion kind of a idea, to say product features, therefore you buy me. Price as an advantage. Now it's come to a people-centric. As we've moved into 2002 and today, marketing is all about people. And this is where a classic theory comes back. Business at the end of the day historically started because one person had something that another person needed. So you exchanged, and then came in money as an instrument, or it used to be barter. So marketing, in my opinion, in my experience, it's all about engaging the prospect or the person you want to be in your community. And I use this very, very clearly. I don't say customer and I don't say employee. I say a community, because what a brand needs to do is it needs to build a group of people that become its ambassadors, within quote, fans, so that they talk about the value of the brand. It's not what you say that matters. It's what they say when you're not there. And I think this is a quote from Jeff Bezos, but that's branding. Branding is the perception, the value that one has of a product or a service through the experience that service and product has given him or her. In a nutshell, that's branding. Marketing is taking that message and the activities related to how you influence that perception to the ground, to the people. So this is where you have digital marketing via social media, web marketing, and we've got a lot of specializations in these areas, as you know. So under digital, you'll have social media marketing, and in social media, you'll have content marketing and all of that. But marketing is basically, in a sum, it's about engaging that community, identifying who is the right customer, who is the right employee, profiling it, bringing that customer and employee into that community. And then comes the last point, delivering an experience that becomes so unique that only you and I together as a team can deliver to our people. And No joy, no pat, sorry, nobody can deliver. So there's two advantages here. Within an industry, every company, if they approach it from this perspective, you're creating a strategic differentiator where your brand experience is concerned. What you deliver is very different from your competitor B. Second, what people are getting human people, and people like to interact with people, especially now. This has got so heightened in this pandemic scenario. We don't like talking to labels. We like talking to a human being. We don't like talking to a bot. So the more human the brand experience is, the more the engagement happens. That's branding, marketing, experience.
Wow, awesome, awesome. It's a very great breakdown. I can understand a lot better now. When we talk about brand experience, you list, or you also talk a lot about the internal and the external one. So the internal brand experience, the external one. Why is, what's the difference? Why is the internal one similarly important or even more important than the external one?
When I came out of my corporate roles a couple of years ago, and I wanted to, put out my shingle and do, which is what I'm doing under 3-minute marketing, one of the things that I put down and I learned through my experience of running various programs, campaigns, everything within organizations and for brands, is that if you don't have your home in order and strong, you cannot represent well. What I mean by that, let me use an analogy. If your cup is not full, you cannot share from your cup. So it's my methodology. Marketing Inside Out is a Joy Abdullah methodology, where what I do when I go into clients is that I bring the employees, the teams, whether it's a 5-member team or a 50-member team, I work in getting the employees aligned in seeing. I was trying to avoid the jargon, but I bring employees to see the value of the strategy and the purpose. And what happens in this process, it's called employee engagement, to use jargon. What happens is the business owner, the CEOs, the senior management, and the employee hierarchy, they all start seeing the common goal, the one same perspective. And when they see that, they say, so I understand now what I'm supposed to do in my role for the benefit of the company, which means for the bigger purpose. And that I then take it down into creating advocacy. And how I do creating advocacy is select a group of few employees whose personal brands are communicated out on behalf of the business brand, all right? In their personal capacity, sharing stories of what they do. So one of the things I write in my process, it's in my profile, is I use 3 things: data, collaborations, and stories. What's the data? There's 2 levels of data. One is the customer data. One is the sales data. Customer and sales data is one. And the second is employee data. I need to know employee psychographical, attitudinal, behavioral, and personality traits to be able to select the right attitude to develop as a personal brand. And I need the customer and sales data to know where is the customer, who's the customer, where does sales happen. The second thing I do is I create cross-functional collaborations. It's not just the marketing people, it's not just the sales people, but I'll bring human resource, I'll bring finance, I'll bring other functions, bring a team in that employee advocacy pool who talk about what is it that they do. Why do I do that? Because for the business brand, it's humanizing the brand. There's a face. There's Patrick and Joy talking about the Pat Show. Pat Show is the brand represented by these 2 people. But each is talking, Pat is talking on technology, Joy's talking on marketing. So that's what goes out. When you do that, what happens is the third leg, the stories, they become real. They actually become honest. They become, even if, we tried to deliver service today and we couldn't, people don't hit your brand with it because you are being human. Humans are not perfect. So I first create that from the inside out. I build it. I must add why I do that is I support organic marketing campaigns. I'm not an advocate of paid advertising until the brand reaches a certain threshold, and every industry, the brand has a different level. So this process that I recommend, it takes about 7 months, 7 calendar months for an organization to get done. So my projects are usually about 8 to 10 months. And in a couple of projects that I'm managing now, I'm in an advisory supervisorial capacity. So I build the inside out, and then I take these stories out and then hand it over to a content marketing, social media marketing team to actually run the company's social media accounts for them. So there's personal branding, there's company brand content development, and then employee engagement. All of it comes together. For anybody who's watching this show and wants to know more, please visit my profile. You'll get it on my profile summary.
Sure, yeah. And well, I will share the links also here, of course, to both the 3 minutes marketing of all, where you share all this very valuable information. We come to an end of this talk, but one thing I still wanted to discuss with you. I mean, did you see over the last 1 or 2 months, like when we start to have this crisis of working from home, any really awesome example of marketing or branding out there, like in Malaysia specifically, or in the world that caught your eye and you thought like, wow, that was really brilliant of the company using the crisis for their marketing?
Yeah, one comes to mind, not in Malaysia, and I'll come back to that, but there's a Nissan car ad about stay at home. I think it played in the Middle East and it played in India, if I remember correctly. It's a beautiful ad, no product, no nothing, with a lovely storyline of deserted streets, with some squirrels, animals, and all using the streets when people are not there. And the message was stay at home, stay safe. But that's a beautiful example that stuck in my head from a viewer's perspective. That I came across that ad, I saw it, I loved it. It's from Nissan. It's a brilliant ad, really brilliant ad. Across the globe, I think every country, every place has had a certain stage of, from China, where we started in January to now. Every country's sort of been trying to play catch up with the pandemic. That's number one. And as a result, as they're playing catch up, the businesses has also been trying to grapple with what do I do. And the first thing is, being a business owner, it's the top of mind fear is, how do I pay? How do I manage my business? Where's my revenue? And, I've advised a couple of small businesses where literally when Malaysia started its lockdown, in the first 2 weeks, the business's revenue went from X to zero, literally zero, and really small. They're 5-man, 6-man, 2 units. And it's only last week that while having discussions with me, they figured out an advantage. They figured out how they could use the delivery services. And as luck would have it, they're starting to get their daily orders back. And one of them is a baking business. And I'm hoping to bring out a case study on that once I get some more data. I'll publish it on LinkedIn. But all businesses, I think, are now trying to look at, first, how can I safeguard my people and my business? And obviously, the first reaction is of fear, because no revenues, no support, and they're all applying for government stimulus to go forward. Some have started, I haven't come across in Malaysia, but in UK, in Switzerland, in Germany, even in US, Australia, these places, India, some of the different categories have started putting out marketing. But the marketing, and I really appreciate that we are seeing why it's so important to do it. The marketing is not targeted for sales. The marketing is actually targeted for the heart, from the brand, giving edutainment, as I call it. It's got an entertainment value, but it's got educational about what one can do in the pandemic from an individual perspective, which is stay positive, do a routine, do your exercise, how to pick up learning skills. A lot of brands I'm seeing in India specifically are pointing to online resources out there. So that's where it's at. And I'm going to wrap this bit up to say, people will throw bricks at me for saying this, but this pandemic is a boon for the entire mankind. For millenniums, we've not had the chance to pause. What this pause is doing is actually forcing us to look at doing everything differently, from an individual perspective, from a professional perspective, from a work perspective. And all these three are coming together in one. In my 4 to 5 weeks in this lockdown period, I'm seeing people are more humane. There's more people centricity in the form of kindness and compassion. That's starting to come up front. And those are two attributes that have been really missing in business, at least in the last 30 years. That's what I can say, Pat.
Wow, I think that's beautiful words to wrap this up. Really, come to an end with this chat and this talk with you. Thank you so much, Joy, for sharing your really valuable insights and knowledge, your experience with 30 plus years into marketing. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, Pat. It's been a pleasure and an honor for getting this privilege to share my background and my experience with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you. And please don't forget to connect with Joy in LinkedIn. I will share his profile for those not connect with him yet. And also follow his 3 minute marketing
3 minute marketing.
Yeah, and of course also to Create the Edge. Awesome shows with really a lot of valuable insights. So thank you very much for watching this one. I hope I see you next time with a new episode of Pat's Chat. Thank you very much, and stay safe. Have a great day. Thanks, Joy.
Every corner of the world is experiencing disruptions, but not for Bigot, for bringing data skills and knowledge to you. Hence from leading regional data science show and now international live business virtual event right at your fingertips. Find out more about the future. Bigot 2020, the 8th annual data science show on 22nd to 23rd September 2020.